Moses was born in a world dripping with fear. A new Pharaoh had risen over Egypt, threatened by the growing number of Hebrews. So he issued a merciless decree. Every Hebrew baby boy must be thrown into the Nile. Blood stained the river, and the cries of mothers filled the air. But God had a plan hiding in a simple woven basket. Moses' mother, Joped, refused to surrender her son. She hid him as long as she could, then with trembling hands placed him in the reeds of the river, praying that the God of Abraham would preserve him. And he did. Pharaoh's daughter found the crying baby, lifted him from the basket, and said, "This will be my son." But God orchestrated another miracle. She unknowingly hired Moses' own mother to nurse and raise him until he was weaned. So Moses grew up with Egyptian privilege, but a Hebrew identity, raised in a palace. Yet grounded by the stories of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he learned he was preserved for a purpose. Coming of age, a heart divided. As Moses grew into a man, he saw the oppression of his people. His heart burned with a desire to help them. One day he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave. Anger rose, passion flared, and Moses struck the Egyptian down, hiding the body in the sand. He thought the people would see him as a deliverer, but when he tried to break up another fight, a Hebrew man turned and said, "Will you kill me too, like you killed the Egyptian?" Fear flooded Moses, the word had spread. Pharaoh wanted him dead. So Moses ran from his past, ran from his calling, ran into the wilderness. 40 years in the wilderness. For 40 long years, Moses lived as a shepherd in Midian. He traded the palace for a tent, the throne for a flock, and his sword for a staff. He married Zipporah, worked for her father Jethro, and lived quietly, perhaps thinking his purpose had died in Egypt. But God's purpose never dies, it waits. One day Moses saw a bush burning with fire, yet somehow not consumed. He drew closer, and the voice of God thundered, "Moses, Moses, take off your sandals, for the ground you stand on is holy." God had heard the cries of his people, and the man who thought he had failed, God called back, "Go to Pharaoh." God said, "Tell him to let my people go." Moses trembled, he felt unworthy, he felt unqualified. But God answered him, "I will be with you." Returning Egypt, the miracles began. Moses returned with Aaron at his side. He stood before Pharaoh and declared the word of the Lord. Plague after plague rocked the land. Blood, frost, darkness, hail, death of the firstborn. Then, under the weight of God's power, Pharaoh broke. "Go," he said, "just go." Moses led millions out of bondage. They marched to the Red Sea, trapped between water and the armies of Egypt. But God spoke again, "Lift your staff." Moses raised his hand. The water split, and a highway rose in the middle of the sea. Israel walked through on dry ground, as walls of water stood like glass on both sides. When Pharaoh's chariots followed, the sea collapsed, and God sealed Israel's freedom in one breath. The journey God pride as the people could plant. In the wilderness, God fed them bread from heaven, water from rocks, quail from the sky. Yet the people complained again and again. They doubted, they murmured, they questioned the God who delivered them. Moses returned to the mountain many times, meeting God face to face, receiving the 10 Commandments, the laws, the covenant, the design of the tabernacle. He stayed in the glory so long that his face began to shine like lightning. But even after seeing miracles, Israel's hearts were often stubborn. And Moses carried the weight of leading them. The feller striking the rock, God told Moses to speak to the rock for water. But after years of frustration, Moses struck the rock instead. Water still flowed, God still provided, but Moses had disobeyed the pattern. And because of that, God told him, you will see the promised land, but you will not enter it. It broke Moses' heart, but he accepted God's judgment as a servant of the Most High. Mentoring Joshua, passing the torch. As Moses' life drew to a close, he poured his wisdom, courage, and calling into Joshua. He showed him how to lead, how to trust, how to listen to God's voice, how to stand firm against enemies. He took Joshua up the mountain and looked across the Jordan. Seeing the land promised to Abraham, Moses lifted his eyes, knowing he had fulfilled his mission. The end of a servant, the beginning of a legacy. Moses died on Mount Nebo, and God himself buried him. No man knows where, only God. His story didn't end in the land of promise, but his legacy lived on in the people he led and the word he delivered. A baby saved from slaughter, a prince turned shepherd, a fugitive turned prophet, a man who spoke with God face to face, a leader who delivered a nation. This is Moses, God's humble servant, God's chosen leader, God's in